Hello, welcome back to another episode from Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. I'm Bill, glad you could join me. Today we're going to compare standing timber to ground level timber and their moisture contents for primitive fire making. Stay tuned. All right, recently in my last episode I demonstrated dead standing timber and how the interior stays relatively dry during very wet conditions. And I was actually up here in a cyclone, and the weather's much better now, obviously. That was a pretty wild ride, and but the everything came out good. It was a success. So I'm back up here, and basically, for those of you that missed that episode, this is a dead sapling. It was seasoned. I went ahead and cut it during the cyclone. I caught that on camera, and then I constructed a bow drill set out of that and actually got a fire going in absolutely the worst conditions possible for doing that type of thing. Excuse me. So anyways, what I wanted to do in this episode is demonstrate the difference in moisture content. It's been raining up here off and on. That was 2 weeks ago, and everything is, the ground is very saturated. Everything is very, very wet. So I figured this would be a good time to kind of roll with this theme. And so what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to cut that little piece so we can compare that. Now, standing timber, dead standing timber in particular, is going to be a lot drier on the interior than anything that's on the ground, simply because the moisture content is much higher at ground level than it is up in the air. That's basically how that works. And also, the standing timber, being vertical, is going to shed the moisture, whereas on the ground it's going to be exposed to that much longer, and that allows the moisture to permeate into the wood. Now here's the rest of that sapling that I cut. So I don't want to use this because it won't be a fair test, a fair comparison. So I'll cut this piece up here, and I suspect since this has been opened up, we'll see some moisture penetration on the end grain, but we'll split it. And what we're looking for is moisture penetration coming in from the outside, the bark area. And once we get that done, then we're going to scout around, and we're going to find just a random piece that's laying on the ground that has been exposed to all this ground level moisture, and we're going to split both of those open, and we're going to do a side-by-side comparison of the moisture content. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and harvest this. Stay tuned. Alright, I got that piece back over at camp, sitting on the stump that we're going to use to split it. This looks like it might be a good piece to use for our comparison. You can see all the moisture that's been sitting on the ground. Here's another good piece too. You can see how wet it is being down on the ground here. So I think I'll take those two pieces back over, and I think they'll work good for our demonstration here. We'll go ahead and split them open and see how they look on the inside. So I'll meet you guys back over at camp. Stay tuned. Okay, back over at the stump here. This is the first piece that we cut off of the dead standing timber. This was the top. See how moist it is, and this was where I cut. You see where moisture has wicked in around the perimeter. It's mostly on this side, and that was on the southern side where the rain was really driving in. This is the other side here, and I don't see any penetration at all on the north side. The storm is coming from the south. It's kind of interesting. So we'll split this one last. These are the two pieces we just looked at, and we'll go ahead and split a hunk off this. And this is really, I could tell by the weight, this is waterlogged big time. Get a baton here. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like on the interior here. Oh yeah, this is a perfect example right here. It's saturated all the way through. This is very, very wet wood here. Perfect example. Just a much higher moisture content on the ground. Go ahead and take another piece off. You can tell by the weight of the wood too. I could tell when I picked it up it was heavy, and that's always a giveaway that it is waterlogged. It's a little bit drier here, but still moist. This is very wet here, and again it's heavy, so that's a really good comparison there. Let's go ahead and take a piece off this one, and I can tell again, very heavy. There's a lot of weight to this piece. When I pick this one up, it's light, very heavy, probably twice the weight of that one. Let's go ahead and see what we're looking at here. Yeah, again, you can see that moisture content, the wood inside here. It's very wet. You can feel the dampness. Very wet. So there's really no dry interior to this wood. I heard something cracking around in the woods back here. Alright, so here's the first piece, the remainder of that dead standing timber. Go ahead and open this up and have a look. I can already tell you it's dry on the interior. Oh yeah, you can see the difference here. Now we have a little bit of moisture penetration from the end grain here, and this is the top. So this is where the water would have penetrated. A little bit of penetration down to about here. Now on the bottom part, this is where I cut it, there's zero penetration down here, so I expected, I believe I mentioned when we looked at it initially before I cut it, that there would be penetration, because the end grain, it's always going to wick in easier that way, the vascular tissue of the tree. But down here where I cut it, there's nothing. It's perfectly dry. I could build a bow drill kit out of this, and I guarantee I can get an ember right off the bat. So this is all dry wood here. So that's just a little demonstration, nice visual demonstration of the timber on the ground with the much higher moisture content as opposed to the timber up off the ground, which is much lower moisture content in the air, and then being vertical, it sheds the water, so you get much less penetration. So even being out here all this time, it's been raining on and off now for, oh gosh, it's been a good 3 weeks probably, and not to mention 7 inches of rain. Well, up here I think it was 8 inches of rain, 8 or 9 inches of rain up here in the mountains, 7 inches down in the valley. That's a lot of rain, not to mention more rain on top of that. There's been several storm systems through, so this has probably been exposed to a good 10 inches of rain at least, and it's still viable. Even with all that moisture content and rain, I could still build a kit out of that and get a spin an ember, no problem. This stuff here is saturated, very saturated. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short, quick tutorial as much as I did making it. I hope you found it educational. Please like, subscribe, and share. I hope all of you are having an outstanding day or night, depending on where you're located, and I will see all of you very soon on the next one. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.